This video is for our fourth review of our graphing linear function, so please make sure you have this review in front of you and you're ready to go. This following story is going to be used for questions 1 through 5. It says, Ms. Hawkins bought a package of 500 stickers at the beginning of the school year. She plans to give away 5 stickers each school day to her hardworking Algebra 1 students. And asks us to write a function to find in the number of stickers remaining after n school days. So we could say n equals, or if we want to do it in function notation, n of d, and then everything that follows will be the same. She starts with 500 stickers, so 500 is our starting, and then she is giving out or taking away 5 per day. So 500 minus 5d would equal n, or n as a function of d would equal 500 minus 5d. It does not matter which one you put. The dependent quantity is on the outside, which would be n for number of days. And then the independent would, not number of days, number of stickers. And then the independent is on the inside or in the house, which would be d, which is number of days. That's why it's important to read the paragraph or the information. So n is stickers after d days. So d is on the inside is independent. Dependent is on the outside is number of stickers. Then they ask us how many stickers will she have left after 40 school days. So 40 is a value for d, or days. So what I'm going to do is take my function, 500 minus 5, and replace d with 40. The reason I'm doing that is because they are giving me days, so I'm going to plug in 40 days and solve for the number of stickers. I can put all of this into my calculator, and when I do that, I get 300 stickers. Remember that if they give you an inside or an independent number, you can put that into your calculator. However, like on problem 5, they ask if you continue at the same rate, after how many days will you have 150? This is an n value for number of stickers. So this time we replace 150 for n, but we don't know how many days. That's why it says after how many days. So we solve for d. So anytime you're given the outside, you have to work backwards. Anytime you're given the inside, you can put it into your calculator. So I subtract 500 from both sides because I'm trying to get d by itself. And we get negative 350 equals negative 5d. Divide both sides by negative 5, and d equals 70 when I put that into my calculator. So 70 days. So make sure on situations like this that you make sure you read what do the variables stand for, and then when you are given a number, figure out which variable is it and replace. You will only be given one number, so you will either replace and put it in the calculator or replace and solve. 6 and 7 are review. The domain. Domain is your x because Dr. XY. Dr. XY. So with the domain, I can mark out any answers that have a y in them because I'm not looking for y, I'm looking for x. Now my x's go left to right, so from this side to this side. My furthest x is out at negative 4, and my most right x is at 2, so that would be answer choice B. Also remember, you can write these points. Negative 4, 4. Positive 2, negative 2. Man, they're really tripping us up here. And then domain looks at your x values. Now range looks at my y's, so I can mark out anything with an x. My y's go down to negative 2 and go all the way up to a positive 4, which would be answer choice D. So if you write those points out, sometimes it's a little bit easier to see what's happening. Problems 8 and 9 ask us to find the slope of the line through the given points. So I'm going to label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2, and remember my slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my fraction and the minus signs always stay. My second points go in front with y on top. And then 6 and 3 goes in the back on the bottom. So remember your y's are on top because we look for rise over run. So y's over x. So negative 4 minus 6 is a negative 10. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. And then we can reduce that to be a positive 5/2. Remember, you can type negative 10 divided by negative 4, the math button, and then the enter button twice to turn it into a most simplified fraction. So on the calculator, negative 10 divided by negative 4, math button, enter, enter, and it turns it into a 5/2. So it'll tell you the most simplified fraction possible. Problem 9, we do the same thing. x1, y1, x2, y2. So my 2's go in front. My x1, y1 goes in the back. Remember that y's go on top. So when I simplify this, 2 minus 2 is 0. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. 0 on the top is okay, but remember if you get a 0 on the bottom, that is a big fat no. It is not okay. So for this, my slope is 0. Also remember you can double check on the calculator. If you type in 0 divided by negative 7, it will tell you it's 0. If it's flipped the other way, it will tell you there's an error and it cannot do it. Problem 10 asks us to identify the slope and y-intercept and then sketch the graph of the equation. So remember, we can set ourselves up for success by writing y equals mx plus b above our line. Then we can very simply see that our slope is 5/3 and our b is 2, which is the point 0, 2. So then my steps for this are plot my b value on the y-axis. Y is at 2, which is positive, so I'm going to go up 2. And then use the slope to continue the line. My slope is 5/3, which means we're going to go up because it's positive, and then we always go to the right. So up because it's positive, down if it's negative, and then always go to the right just to keep it straight in your head. So from this point, I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I have a point there. Now remember, once you've gone up and to the right, if you can't do it anymore, you can also go the opposite direction and go down and to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. To get an extra point to be able to graph well. So again, we start at the back of our equation and work our way forward. The back, or the 2, tells us where to start, and then the 5/3 tells us how to continue. So for 11, y equals mx plus b. Just set yourself up for success from the beginning. M and x are the best of friends, so your slope is what's directly under m, and then b is what's directly under b. Remember that you can see it as a number or as a point tomorrow, so make sure you can do both. Step 1, I'm going to take care of b equals negative 3. So I go down to 3 on the y-axis and plot my point. And then step 2, I use my slope. So negative 3/4 means I'm going to go down 3 right 4. So down 3 right 4. Down 3 right 4. And you don't have to put these little squiggly lines. I'm just doing it because you can't see where my pen is in the video. And I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. My x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses the x-axis right here at a negative 4. and my x-intercept is the point -4, comma 0. Quick review on intercepts. Remember, the letter they give you is the spot where you should have the number. The intercept means the other one is 0. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Okay, sorry for that interruption. This was everything that you missed. X-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, and then I just reviewed that x-intercepts and y-intercepts, whatever letter they give you is where you should have the number. So y-intercept has a number at y, x-intercept has a number at x. These problems we're doing the same thing. Slope is with x, b comes after x. So we start down at -3 on the y-axis. Slope of 1/3 means go up 1 right 3. So up 1 right 3, up 1 right 3, up 1 right 3. And I draw my line. And then x-intercept or 0, where does it cross the x-axis? It crosses the x-axis over here at the point 9, 0. Problem 13, my m is -2 because that's what's with x. B is 2, so I go up to B, and then down to right 1, because that's what my slope is. So down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1. That's enough points. Draw my line. And then remember that your x-intercept where it crosses the x-axis would be at a +1, 0. 14 is different. 14, we don't have our equation. They ask us here to write it. Now, I could go ahead and start it because I know the slope of -1/4, and I know that slope and x are always together. I'm going to go ahead and put -1/4, fill in that blank as well. However, this time we don't have a starting value or a b value. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to plot the point first. So instead of plotting the b value, I'm going to plot the point and then use my slope to continue. So same steps, but instead of plotting a b, you're plotting a point. The point -2, 5 means go to the left 2, up 5. And then a slope of -1/4 means go down 1, right 4, down 1, right 4, down 1, right 4. And I can draw my line. Now, my b value is kind of weird. My line is not perfect, but we can see there's a value at -5 and a value at -4, and my line, if I could draw, would cross somewhere in between. So we are going to say that our b value is a -4.5 because it's in between -4 and -5. And then we aren't going to worry about the x-intercept because it does not cross pretty on our graph. So my equation, y equals m that they gave us times x plus the b value that we found. Now the b value is a -4.5 because it crosses between 4 and 5 on the negatives. I'm sorry, on the positives. I'm so sorry, those are positive. So between 4 and 5. Same thing with problem 15. I'm going to go ahead and plot the point 2, 6. 2, 6 means go to the right 2, up 6. Remember, when we plot points, we do it the opposite of how we do slope. Excuse me. And then my slope is 3/1. So I'm going to go up 3 into the right 1. Once I do that, I can see where my line would be going, but I ran out of room, so now I'm going to go down 3 left 1. And just put a couple points on there. And now I can very clearly draw my line. So the slope they gave us was 3. And then we can see the y-intercept where it crosses that y-axis is at the point 0, 0. And anytime it's 0, 0 on the y, it's also 0, 0 on the x. My equation is going to be y equals 3x. And because I do not have any extra up or down on the y-axis, I just leave it. You could put plus 0 if you wanted to, but you're not wrong if you don't put it. Problem 16 gives us a line and asks us to write the equation, so this time they didn't give us any information, any written information. I can see starting point, my b is going to be at 5, and then it looks like I have another nice clean cross here. So to go from slope to slope, or point to point, I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so down 5, and to the right 3. So my slope from point to point would be negative 5/3. We just found my b value is 5. Remember, it's a y-intercept, so we have a value at y. And my x-intercept is that other point that I've labeled where it crosses at 3. So my equation is going to be y equals mx plus b. So negative 5/3 x plus 5. So again, we need to see where does it cross and what's my slope in order to be able to write that equation. Same thing on problem 17. It crosses down here at a negative 3. It crosses my x-axis up here at a 1. So when I go from point to point, I would go up 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. So I went up 3, right 1, which is just a positive 3. And then my equation is y equals mx plus b, so 3x minus 3. Problems 18 and 19 just ask us to give the rate of change for each line shown. So problem 18, this is a straight across line. So remember, this could make a z for 0. It's a special case. And then 19, we can kind of make a u for undefined. It's where the guy falls off the cliff in Slope Dude. And problem 20 asks us to find the rate of change. Remember, the word rate of change means slope. Slope is m, and m and x are always together, so my answer here would be 5. So anytime you see rate of change, just look for the slope. You are looking for the number directly attached to x. Problem 21 asks for the y-intercept. Y-intercept is your b value. Your b value directly follows x, so your b value would be 6. Here they ask for the slope and the y-intercept, so this one might be a good time to write y equals mx plus b above your line. And then you can see m is negative 2 and b is positive 8. (24) asks us which of these lines contains the point 50 and has a slope of 2. Now, I'm immediately going to mark off answer choice B. There's no way it could be right because that is a negative decreasing graph, and my slope is positive. So there's no way it could be answer choice B, sorry. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, the easiest thing to do is look and see, does that point exist? The point 50 means go to the right 5. That is the point 50, so it could be A. Point 50, go to the right 5. It could be C. Point 50 is not on D, so it could not be D either. Now I need to see which of these has that slope of 2 over 1. This means go up 2 and to the right 1. So from this point, if I go up 2 and to the right 1, that would fit on my line. Let's see if it works for A. If I go up 2 and to the right 1, that point is not on my line, so A does not have that same slope, meaning C is my correct answer. Problem 25 asks for the slope and the y-intercept shown. Your y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. This one crosses down at a -1, so 0, -1. And then for slope, we count from point to point. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4. To the right, 1, 2, 3. This is going up. It's an increasing graph, so it would be a positive 4/3. 26 asks us to write the equation that could be used to generate these table of values. So what I'm going to do is take this table and plot it on my graph first so I can see M and B like we just did on problem 25. So the point -2, -1, -1, 3, 0, 7, and 1, 11. So my B value, where it crosses the y-axis, it crosses up at 7. And then my slope from point to point, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, to the right 1. So my slope is 4/1, which just reduces to 4. So my equation would be mx plus b. So 4x plus 7. It crosses at 7 and then has a slope of 4. 27 says the table below shows the relationship between the height of a plant H and the time in weeks W since it was planted. Which statement is true? And they are asking us about dependent versus independent. So first I'm going to come up here and label. My independent would be my X, which is always your first, and then your dependent would be your Y, which is always the second. And we know that the dependent depends on the independent. So height depends on time. And the only one that says that is C. (28) says a function is described by the equation x squared plus 4. The replacement set for the independent variable is -4, -2, 1. What is the corresponding set for the dependent? So what they are really saying here is your domain is -4, -2, 1. Find your range. So you can plug this into the calculator or do it by hand. If you do it by hand, you're just plugging these values in. So I am taking x and I am replacing it with -4, -2, and 1. When I do that, -4 squared is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. -2 squared is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. And then 1 squared is 1 plus 4 is 5. So my corresponding set would be 20, 8, and 5. Problem 29 says the cost to rent bowling shoes and bowl a game is represented by the relationship C equals C equals 299G plus 3, where C is the total cost and G is the number of games bowled. What is dependent? So dependent is always on the outside. Dependent outside would be C, which is total cost. And then independent would be G, which is number of games. 30 is a review problem. They ask us to express the relation as a table, graph, and mapping, tell whether or not it is a function. So first let's start with the table. We just copy and paste our points. And then on the graph, we just plot them, -2, 5, -1, 1, 3, 1, -1, -2. For mapping, We have our x's and our y's. Remember, if it repeats, we only write it once. Don't forget your arrows. -2 goes to 5, -1 goes to 1, 3 goes to 1, -1 goes to -2. And this is not a function because x equals -1 repeats. (31) tells us f of x equals these points. Find f of 3. So they're telling you x equals 3. What is y? So we go to where x is 3. Y equals -3. Or you could say f of 3 equals -3. 32, they want us to solve. Remember, there's an invisible -1 in front, so I distribute -1 to 3x, -1 to 7. Combine my like terms. 4x's minus 3x's is a total of 1x's. Add 7 to both sides because I'm trying to get x by itself, and x equals 16. (33) also asks us to solve. It says 5 minus 7 times y plus 1 equals -10y plus 4. So I'm going to take -7 and distribute it. -7 times y, -7 times 1. Everything else stays the same. Combine my like terms. So nothing happened to -7y. And then on my numbers, 5 minus 7 is -2. Because I have variables on both sides, I'm going to move the 10y first. I'm moving the smallest y possible. Now I'm going to add 2 to both sides because I'm still trying to get y by itself. And then finish out by dividing everything by 3 and get that y equals 2. So remember, when you solve, you distribute whatever's in front. If you have any like terms, you combine them. If you have variables on both sides, you move one of them to the other. Remember, every time that we move something to the other side, we make it the opposite and then go from there. 34 asks us to find the domain and range shown, and then we were asked to write both notations. So this has one bubble at the point 6, 5. Because I only have this one bubble, I have to figure out what direction my inequalities go. And so as I frame my line, I can see that my x's are going to the left. The left for the x's gets smaller, so x is getting less than or equal to 6. And then my y's are also going down, so they are getting smaller, and they are getting smaller than 5. Now the other notation that we have is we could say this is starting down at -infinity, and that it comes all the way up to 6. With the y's, we could say the same thing. Starts down at -infinity, so this is -infinity here, and then it goes all the way up to 6, 5. And then to finish out, 35 asks us which of these is a function. Remember, if it passes the vertical line test, meaning it only hits once, then it is a function. C would be good. B would not be good. D, you have to be careful. If you complete the vertical line test here, it's okay. But if we draw a line here, it hits twice. So that one specific dot is the reason that it is not a function. So C would be my answer.